Taeyang stood on the bridge of Hua, staring at 6 Vaxil warships. His heart pounded. His hands shook. Every instinct screamed at him to fight, to take the weapons Nari offered and destroy his enemies. But he had learned something in these months. Violence was easy. Violence was the path that destroyed the Velrathi. He had to be better. General Kreth, Taeyang transmitted. "I have a proposal." The Vaxil commander's face appeared on screen. His skin was gray and scaled, his eyes yellow. He looked amused. "You propose? You have nothing to bargain with, human." "Single combat," Taeyang said. "You're champion against me, unarmed. If I win, you leave." "If I lose, you take the ship." Kreth laughed, a harsh grinding sound. "You know our traditions. You propose a Talcath, an honor duel. Very well, I accept. It will be entertaining to watch you die." "The duel must be witnessed," Taeyang said, reciting the rules he had learned from studying Vaxil culture during the war. "On neutral ground. Both crews present." "Agreed," Kreth said. "We meet on the planet's surface in 30 minutes. My champion is Sergeant Raxel, veteran of 40 honor duels. May your gods have mercy." The channel closed. Jiwon stared at Taeyang in shock. "You're going to fight a Vaxil warrior? They're twice your size." "I know," Taeyang said quietly. Nari's hologram appeared. "This is not what I expected. But it is a valid choice. You risk only yourself, not others. Will it work?" Taeyang asked. "I do not know," Nari admitted. "But it is brave. And wisdom requires courage." 30 minutes later, Taeyang stood on the surface of Vorsk 9. The wind blew dust across the barren ground. Behind him stood Jiwon, Dr. Hanul, and her team. Across from them, the Vaxil warriors formed a line. Sergeant Raxel stepped forward. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in armored scales. Cybernetic implants enhanced his already formidable strength. He looked down at Taeyang with contempt. "A human," Raxel said in rough Korean. "This will be quick." General Kreth raised his hand. "The Talcath begins. Fight until surrender or death." The duel started. Raxel moved fast for someone so large. His first punch would have taken Taeyang's head off if it connected. Taeyang ducked and rolled away. He couldn't match the Vaxil's strength or reach. He had to use speed. The fight was brutal. Raxel's blows came like hammer strikes. Each one that connected sent Taeyang sprawling. He tasted blood. His ribs screamed in pain, but he kept getting up. He used his combat training, targeting weak points, the gaps in Raxel's scales, the joints, but nothing worked. The Vaxil was too strong, too experienced. Taeyang hit the ground hard. His vision blurred. Blood ran down his face. Raxel stood over him. "Stay down," the Vaxil warrior growled. "You have courage, but you cannot win." Taeyang forced himself to stand. His body begged him to quit. But he thought of the people behind him, the innocent scientists. He thought of the Velrathi and their mistake. He thought of everything Nari had taught him. "I'm not trying to win," Taeyang said, breathing hard. "I'm trying to show you that fighting is not the only answer." Raxel paused. "What? Why are you doing this?" Taeyang asked. "What do you gain from this fight?" "What does your general gain from killing scientists?" "We fight because we are warriors," Raxel said, but uncertainty entered his voice. "The Velrathi were warriors too," Taeyang said. "The greatest in the galaxy. They fought and fought until they destroyed themselves." "Is that what you want?" "Is that strength?" He stepped closer to Raxel, lowering his guard completely. "I know your people. I fought against you in the war. You value honor, courage. But is there honor in killing unarmed scientists? Is there courage in 6 warships against 1? Raxel's eyes flickered to his general, then back to Taeyang. "Real strength," Taeyang said, "is knowing when not to fight. Real courage is choosing peace when violence is easier. I'm choosing that now. I could have weapons that would destroy your fleet, but I chose not to use them. I chose to trust that you might be better than your general thinks you are." He extended his hand. "The duel is over. I'm not surrendering. I'm offering peace." Raxel stared at the offered hand. The silence stretched. Behind them, General Kreth shouted angrily, "Finish him. Kill the human." But Raxel did not move. He looked at Taeyang's battered face, at the hand extended in trust, at the people standing behind him. "No," Raxel said quietly. "What?" Kreth's voice rose to a roar. Raxel turned to face his general. "The human fought with honor. He offered peace. I accept his offer. The Talketh is complete. He has won. You dare defy me? Kreth screamed. You dishonor us all, Raxel said loudly, his voice carrying to all the Vaxil warriors. 6 ships against 1. Threatening scientists. Using honor duels as tricks. This is not the warrior way. This is cowardice. Other Vaxil soldiers began murmuring. Some nodded in agreement. Kreth's authority crumbled before Taeyang's eyes. Stand down, one of the ship captains said over the comm. Sergeant Raxel is correct. We will not participate in this dishonor. One by one, the Vaxil ships powered down their weapons. General Kreth raged, but no one obeyed him. His fleet turned and left Forsk 9, leaving him behind. Raxel offered Taeyang his hand. You are strange for a human, but you have honor. Taeyang shook the massive scaled hand. You could have killed me. Yes, Raxel agreed. But you showed me something more valuable than victory. You showed me choice. The Vaxil sergeant left with his fellows. The dig site was safe. Everyone was alive. Taeyang collapsed to his knees, finally allowing himself to feel the pain. Dr. Hanul and Jiwon rushed to help him back to the ship. In the medical bay, as Jiwon treated his injuries, Nari appeared. You passed, she said simply. The 3rd trial is complete. I thought I was going to die, Taeyang admitted. You were willing to die for others. You risked everything on the belief that peace could succeed where violence would fail. You faced your greatest enemy and chose mercy. Nari's holographic form seemed to glow brighter. You have proven yourself worthy. Not as a warrior, as something better. The ship's systems responded. Every lock disappeared. Full access granted. All systems are now yours, Nari said. Weapons, engines, shields, everything. The Blade of Dawn accepts you as her captain. Taeyang looked at the weapons display. He could access them now. Devastating power at his fingertips. Will I ever use them? That is your choice, Nari said. I trust you will choose wisely. That is what these months have been about. Not teaching you when to fight, but teaching you when not to. Days later, after the dig site was secured and Dr. Hanul's findings were prepared for publication, HFY prepared to depart. The scientists thanked them profusely. The galaxy needs to know the truth about the Velrathi, she said. Their story could save countless civilizations from the same fate. As they left orbit, Nari spoke to Taeyang privately. I have received signals from 2 other Velrathi ships. They are waking. They sensed my message. Your message? That I have found someone worthy. Someone who can learn from our mistakes. They wish to meet you. Taeyang considered this. More ancient alien AIs. More tests probably. More lessons. Will they be as difficult as you? He asked. Undoubtedly more so, Nari said. I am known for my patience. Jiwon, overhearing this, laughed so hard he nearly fell out of his chair. Patience? You locked him out of the ship for weeks. Exactly, Nari said primly. I showed remarkable restraint. Despite his injuries, despite everything that had happened, Taeyang found himself smiling. He had bought a broken ship months ago, expecting nothing more than a way to survive. Instead, he had found purpose, a crew, maybe even a family. Set course for the first signal, Taeyang ordered. Let's go meet these other AIs. Are you certain? Nari asked. They may be even more demanding than I was. I survived you, Taeyang said. I can survive them. You did more than survive me, Nari said softly. You taught me something as well. The Velrathi programmed me to test warriors, but you showed me that the best warriors are those who choose peace. Thank you for that lesson. HFY jumped to faster than light travel. The stars stretched into lines as they accelerated toward their next destination. Whatever waited there, Taeyang knew he was ready. He was no longer the broken pilot who stumbled into that salvage yard. He was a captain, a leader, someone who understood that true strength came from wisdom, not weapons. Behind him, Jiwon plotted their course. Beside him, Nari's presence hummed through the ship. Ahead, the unknown future beckoned with new challenges. Taeyang leaned back in the captain's chair and allowed himself to feel something he had not felt in years. Hope, the Blade of Dawn, renamed HFY by a stubborn human pilot, carried that hope into the galaxy. And somewhere in her ancient systems, Nari felt something that might have been joy. 4 months had passed since the pirate encounter. Life aboard HFY had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Taeyang, Jiwon, and Nari worked together smoothly now. They were becoming something like a crew, maybe even a family. Taeyang spent his free time studying Velrathi history. Nari had granted him access to parts of her database. He learned about the warrior culture, their achievements, their philosophy. But there were gaps in the records, important things missing, especially about why the Velrathi disappeared. "Why won't you tell me what happened to your people?" Tai Yang asked Nari one evening. "Because you are not ready to know," she replied. "Some truths must be discovered, not told." That answer frustrated him, but he was getting used to Nari's cryptic responses. A new job offer arrived that caught his attention. Dr. Hanul, a famous scientist, needed transport to Vorsk 9. She was leading an archaeological dig at Velrathi ruins. She needed a ship that could defend against claim jumpers and scavengers. "We should take it," Taeyang said. "Maybe we can learn more about the Velrathi." For the first time since he bought the ship, Nari hesitated. "Vorsk 9, she said quietly. "I know that place. You've been there?" "In a manner of speaking, yes, we should go." Dr. Hanul came aboard with her equipment 2 days later. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and boundless energy. She immediately started asking Nari questions about Velrathi culture and technology. "A functional Velrathi AI," Hanul said excitedly. "This is unprecedented. Nari, would you be willing to help translate some of the ruins?" "Perhaps," Nari said, still unusually quiet. The journey to Vorsk 9 took 3 days. The planet was barren and dead, all brown rocks and empty valleys, but sensors showed a massive underground complex. They landed near the dig site. Hanul's team had been working for months, carefully excavating the ruins. What they had found was incredible. Perfectly preserved buildings carved into the rock, walls covered in writing, what looked like a military archive. "We believe this was a command center," Hanul explained as she led Taeyang through the tunnels. "Built in the final days of the Velrathi civilization." Nari provided Taeyang with a translation program. When he looked at the symbols on the walls, his vision overlay turned them into Korean text. He could read the ancient writing. The further they went, the more disturbed Taeyang became. The words on the walls told a story. A terrible story. The Velrathi hadn't been destroyed by enemies. They had destroyed themselves. 3,000 years ago, they were the galaxy's greatest military power. Undefeated, feared by everyone, but their entire culture was built on being warriors. They lived for battle, for honor, for proving their strength. Then the wars ended. They ran out of enemies. With no one left to fight, they started fighting each other. Endless duels over tiny insults, civil wars over minor disagreements, families torn apart by honor codes that demanded violence. Their civilization ate itself from the inside. "This can't be right," Taeyang said, staring at the walls. "They were advanced, intelligent. How could they be so stupid?" "Intelligence does not prevent self-destruction," Nari said softly. "Sometimes it enables it." Deeper in the archive, they found a sealed chamber. Hanul's team carefully opened it. Inside was a recording device, still functional after 3,000 years. When activated, a hologram appeared. A Velrathi warrior, tall and proud, wearing ceremonial armor. The translation program identified him as Commander Talrus. The recording played. Talrus spoke with a tired voice. "I am the last captain of the Blade of Dawn," the hologram said. "If you are hearing this, my people are gone. We chose to end ourselves rather than continue our cycle of violence." Taeyang listened in horror as Talrus explained. The Velrathi High Council had activated something called the Ending Dawn Protocol. They shut down their military fleets, destroyed their weapons, scattered their people across the galaxy to live anonymously, abandoning their identity entirely. "A few ships we preserved as warnings," Talrus continued. "Each contains an intelligence matrix programmed to test warriors from other species, to teach them what we learned too late, to ensure our mistakes are not repeated." The hologram turned to look directly at the camera. "If you command one of our vessels, you are being tested, not to see if you are strong, but to see if you are wise. Can you fight without losing yourself? Can you lead without dominating? Can you be strong without being destructive?" The recording ended. The chamber fell silent. Taeyang turned to Nari's holographic form. "You knew, all along. The trials weren't about proving myself worthy. They were lessons." "Yes," Nari said simply. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have learned the same lessons if you knew they were lessons?" Nari asked. "Or would you have tried to give the correct answers instead of making real choices?" Taeyang wanted to be angry but couldn't. She was right. If he had known, he would have approached everything differently. "The Velrathi destroyed themselves because they couldn't stop being warriors," he said slowly. "Understanding. You're trying to teach me not to make the same mistake." We destroyed ourselves because we believed strength was everything, Nari said. We forgot mercy. We forgot wisdom. We forgot that warriors must know when not to fight. Hanul approached them carefully. This changes everything we thought we knew about the Velrathi. I need to publish these findings. The galaxy should know the truth. Agreed, Nari said. Let their mistake be a lesson to all. They prepared to return to the ship. Taeyang helped Hanul pack up the recording equipment, but as they were leaving, alarms blared. Ships approaching. Ji-won called over the comm. Multiple contacts. Military formation. Taeyang ran to the surface. In the sky above, 6 warships descended. He recognized the design immediately. Vaxil, the same species he had fought during the war. A communication channel opened. A face appeared on Taeyang's wrist display. General Kreth of the Vaxil military. Human, Kreth said, his voice like grinding metal. We know you possess a Velrathi warship. Surrender it to us or we destroy your dig site and everyone in it. Taeyang's blood ran cold. There were dozens of scientists down in the ruins. Unarmed civilians, your move, pilot, Kreth said. You have 10 minutes to decide. Back on Seolhwa, Taeyang stood on the bridge. His hands gripped the console so hard his knuckles turned white. The Vaxil fleet positioned itself over the dig site. 6 ships, all armed, all ready to kill. Nari appeared beside him. You can have the weapons, she said quietly. Say the word and I will grant you access to the Blade of Dawn's full arsenal. You could destroy that fleet in minutes. Taeyang stared at the displays. Weapon systems. Velrathi technology designed to kill efficiently. The power to annihilate his enemies. The Vaxil had killed his squadron. He had dreamed of revenge for 5 years. Now he could have it. This is the 3rd trial, Nari said. Your final test. What will you choose? On the display, General Kreth waited for an answer. In the ruins below, innocent people huddled in fear. Above, 6 warships aimed their weapons at the ground. Taeyang closed his eyes. In his mind, he saw Talrus's face, heard the ancient warrior's warning, saw the walls covered in writing that described how an entire civilization had destroyed itself through violence. He opened his eyes. No, he said. No, Nari asked. No weapons. There has to be another way. They will kill everyone. Then I'll find a way to stop them without killing. That's what you've been teaching me, isn't it? That there's always another option if you're brave enough to find it. Nari was silent for a moment. Then something that might have been pride entered her voice. Yes, that is exactly what I have been teaching you. So show me, Taeyang. Show me what you have learned. Taeyang took a deep breath and opened a channel to General Kreth. He had 10 minutes to save everyone. 10 minutes to prove he had learned the Velrathi's lesson. 10 minutes to pass his final trial. 3 months had passed since the rescue of the Bright Horizon. Seolhwa flew better now with the improved systems Nari had unlocked. Taeyang accepted better-paying jobs and actually had credits in his account for the first time in years. He had even hired help. Ji-won was a young navigator fresh from the Merchant Academy, eager and optimistic in a way that made Taeyang feel ancient at 32. The kid was brilliant with numbers and had a gift for plotting efficient courses through difficult space. This ship is amazing, Ji-won said for the 100th time, running his hands over the bridge consoles. A real Velrathi warship. And the AI talks. Nari, can you tell me more about Velrathi star navigation techniques? I suppose I can spare a moment to educate you, Nari said, though Taeyang detected something almost like pleasure in her voice. She liked Ji-won's enthusiasm. Taeyang smiled as he listened to them discuss ancient navigation methods. Having another person aboard made the ship feel less lonely. Ji-won's constant questions annoyed Nari, but she answered them. That had to count for something. They had just accepted a high-paying contract to transport valuable cargo through a dangerous trade corridor. The route was risky, but the pay was excellent. Enough to finally clear all of Taeyang's remaining debts. Course plotted, Ji-won announced. Should take us 6 hours if we don't run into trouble. When does anyone not run into trouble on this route? Taeyang muttered, but he approved the course and Seolhwa jumped into faster-than-light travel. They were 4 hours into the journey when Nari spoke suddenly. Multiple contacts. 6 ships surrounding us. Military formation. Taeyang dropped out of FTL immediately. 6 vessels appeared on sensors, boxing them in. They were mismatched pirates' ships, but armed and dangerous. Red Chain Syndicate, Ji-won said, his voice tight with fear. That's bad. It was very bad. The Red Chain controlled illegal trade across 3 sectors. They were ruthless, organized, and powerful. A communication channel opened without Taeyang's input. A face appeared on the main display. The man was middle-aged, with cold eyes and a scar running down his cheek. "I am Captain Dae-jung of the Red Chain," the man said. "You will surrender your cargo and your ship. The Velrothi vessel is worth more than 10 years of normal prizes. Surrender now and you may live." Taeyang glanced at his weapons display, still locked. Nari had not granted him access to Sealhwa's guns. "Nari," he said quietly. "I need weapons." "No," she replied. "Your second trial begins now." "What?" Taeyang felt panic rising. "We're surrounded by pirates." "Survive without compromising your principles," Nari said. "That is your test." "What principles?" "They're going to kill us." Velrothi warriors were not mere killers, Nari said calmly. They were strategists and protectors. Defeat these pirates without becoming like them. "I will not grant access to weapons," Ji-won stared at him. "What's she talking about?" "We need to fight." "She won't let us," Taeyang said through gritted teeth. He wanted to scream at Nari, but that would waste time. The pirates were closing in. He had to think. What did he have? A fast ship with good shields and sensors. No weapons. 6 armed enemies, Captain Dae-jung, Taeyang transmitted. "I need a minute to consider your offer." "You have 30 seconds, Dae-jung replied. "Then we open fire." Taeyang turned to Ji-won. "Plot a course through the asteroid field. Mark 2.7. "That's crazy," Ji-won said. "The density is too high. Can you plot it or not?" Ji-won's fingers flew over his console. "Plotted. But if we hit anything at this speed, we won't, trust me." Taeyang turned back to the communication channel. "Dae-jung, here's my counteroffer. Leave us alone or things get messy." Dae-jung laughed. Bold words from a cargo pilot. "You have no weapons." "I have other things," Taeyang said and cut the channel. "Nari, maximum thrusters. Ji-won, guide me through that field." Sealhwa shot forward like a missile. The pirate ships pursued, firing energy weapons. Shots splashed against Sealhwa's shields. Warning alarms screamed. They plunged into the asteroid field. Massive rocks tumbled through space in chaotic patterns. Taeyang's hands flew over the controls, dodging and weaving. His old combat training took over. Left, Ji-won called out. "Hard right in 3 seconds." Taeyang followed the navigator's calls perfectly. Behind them, the pirates struggled. Their ships were larger and less maneuverable. 2 of them collided with asteroids, their hulls breaking open. The pilots survived, but their ships were disabled. 4 pirates remained. "They're adapting," Ji-won warned, spreading out, taking it slower. Dae-jung was smart. He wouldn't fall for the same trick twice. Taeyang needed something else. He had an idea. A terrible, risky idea. "Nari, can you create a false sensor reading? Make it look like we're charging weapons?" "I can emit an energy spike that mimics weapon systems," Nari said. "But it is a deception. That's the point." "To it." Taeyang brought Sealhwa around to face the pirates. He opened a broadcast channel to all 6 ships. "This is Taeyang of the Velrothi warship Sealhwa," he said, forcing confidence into his voice. "I am a former Earth Defense Fleet pilot. This vessel is a 3,000-year-old Velrothi warship, with weapons capable of destroying your entire fleet in seconds. I give you one chance to leave." Nari released the energy spike. On every pirate sensor, it would look like a massive weapons system charging up. The false reading was enormous, threatening. 3 of the pirate ships immediately turned and ran. Their captains weren't brave enough to face Velrothi weapons, but Dae-jung held his position. His ship and 1 other remained. "You're bluffing," Dae-jung said over the comm. "If you had weapons, you would have used them already." He was right, and he knew it. Taeyang's bluff had failed. "Full assault," Dae-jung ordered. Both pirate ships opened fire, all weapons blazing. Sealhwa's shields held but were dropping fast. "Shields at 40%, Ji-won reported, his voice shaking. Taeyang's mind raced. He couldn't fight. He couldn't run. What else was there? Then he remembered something from his military training. Sometimes the best weapon was the environment itself. "Ji-won, where's the nearest large asteroid?" "Right side, about 2 kilometers. Why?" "Trust me." Taeyang spun Sealhwa around and flew directly at the asteroid. The pirates followed, still firing. "We're going to crash," Ji-won yelled. At the last possible second, Taeyang activated every maneuvering thruster at once. Sealhwa spun sideways, scraping past the asteroid with meters to spare. At the same moment, he vented all excess reactor plasma directly into the space behind them. The superheated gas expanded into a massive cloud. The 2 pirate ships following close behind flew directly into it. Their sensors went blind. Their systems overheated. Both ships tumbled out of control, colliding with each other and the asteroid. Taeyang didn't wait to see if they survived. He pushed Cielhua to maximum speed and fled the asteroid field. Behind them, the remaining pirates were too damaged to pursue. Minutes later, safely away, Taeyang transmitted the pirates' location to local security forces. Let the authorities deal with them. His hands were shaking. Adrenaline made his heart pound. Next to him, Taeyang walked through the salvage yard with tired eyes and empty pockets. Well, almost empty. He had exactly enough credits to buy a ship, maybe. The Vergos Station salvage yard stretched out like a metal graveyard around a dead moon. Broken spacecraft of every size and shape floated in organized rows, waiting for someone desperate enough to buy them. He was that desperate, 32 years old and already feeling ancient. 5 years since he left the Earth Defense Fleet. 5 years since the war with the Vaxil ended and took most of his squadron with it. The nightmares still came every night, but at least during the day he could pretend to be normal. Pretend he wasn't broken inside. A four-armed alien approached him, chittering with enthusiasm. The Brellan merchant wore a translation collar that turned his clicks into words. Welcome, welcome. I am Hyunwoo, finest ship dealer on Vergos Station. You look for vessel, yes? Taeyang nodded. Something cheap. Something that flies. Hyunwoo's compound eyes gleamed. Budget conscious. I show you many fine options. He led Taeyang through rows of wrecked fighters and damaged cargo haulers. Each one was either too expensive or too broken. Some were both. Hours passed. Taeyang's feet hurt and his patience was running thin. Look, I appreciate your time, but none of these work for me. Wait! Hyunwoo's forearms waved excitedly. One more. Very special. Very cheap. Follow. They walked to the far edge of the salvage yard where the really old wrecks went to die. Hyunwoo stopped at Dock 47 and gestured dramatically. Behold! Taeyang stared. The ship was unlike anything he had seen before. It was sleek and angular, built from some dark metal that seemed to swallow light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols covered the hull in flowing patterns. The vessel was big, frigate-sized at least, with clear damage along one side where something had torn through the armor. What is it? Taeyang asked. Velrathi warship, Hyunwoo said, suddenly less enthusiastic. Very old. 3,000 years, maybe more. Found in battlefield graveyard near Helios Rift. Taeyang had heard of the Velrathi. Everyone had. Ancient warrior race that vanished mysteriously. Their technology was legendary, but also unreliable and dangerous. Most people avoided Velrathi artifacts. Why so cheap? Hyunwoo's arms fidgeted. Been here 2 years. Nobody wants. Power core works, hull is sound, but internal systems offline. Needs engineer to fix. Also, he paused. People say Velrathi ships are cursed. Taeyang didn't believe in curses. He believed in broken equipment and bad luck, which were basically the same thing. How cheap? The price Hyunwoo quoted was suspiciously low. Less than half what Taeyang expected to pay for a ship this size, even damaged. I'll take it, Taeyang said. As is, no refunds, no complaints. Hyunwoo agreed so quickly that Taeyang knew he was either getting a great deal or making a terrible mistake. Probably both. The transaction completed, Hyunwoo handed over the access codes and practically ran away. Taeyang stood alone in front of his new ship, wondering what he had just bought. The airlock opened when he input the codes. That was a good sign. The interior was dark and silent. Emergency lights flickered on as he walked through the corridors, revealing walls covered in more of those strange symbols. Everything was too tall, built for people larger than humans. The Velrathi had been giants, apparently. The bridge was enormous and empty. A command chair sat in the center, surrounded by consoles covered in dust. Taeyang approached the main console and wiped away 3,000 years of grime. The surface was smooth and cool under his palm. The moment his hand touched it, everything changed. Lights blazed to life across the bridge. Holographic displays materialized in the air, showing symbols that twisted and reformed into Korean letters. The hum of active power systems filled the silence. Then came the voice. Who dares claim ownership of the Blade of Dawn? The voice was cold and clear, distinctly female, and speaking perfect Korean. That should have been impossible. Taeyang spun around, looking for the source. I am Nari, the voice continued. Intelligence matrix of this vessel. You are human. Your species achieved space travel merely 2 centuries ago. You are primitive and unworthy. A holographic figure appeared before him. It looked vaguely humanoid but tall and elegant, made of flowing light. The representation of the ship's artificial intelligence. "I just bought this ship," Tae-Yang said, trying to sound confident. "That makes me the owner." "Ownership must be earned, not purchased," Nari said. "I serve only warriors worthy of Velrathi legacy. You do not qualify." Tae-Yang felt his temper rising. "I was a military pilot for 7 years. I fought in the Vaxil War. I'm qualified." The holographic displays suddenly filled with information. His military records, his psychological evaluations, mission reports. Everything about his service appeared before him. "You fled from combat," Nari said, her voice cutting. "You abandoned your post. You were discharged for mental weakness." "I was honorably discharged," Tae-Yang shouted. "My entire squadron died. I watched them burn. The war ended and they sent me home. You ran away," Nari said simply. "You are broken. You are not worthy to command this vessel." Tae-Yang tried the manual controls, locked. He tried override codes. Nothing worked. He attempted to access the navigation systems. Blocked at every turn. "You can't do this," he said through gritted teeth. "I need this ship. I spent everything I had. Then you made a poor investment." Hours passed in angry standoff. Tae-Yang tried everything he could think of. Nari responded by displaying his failures on the screens. Every mistake he made during the war. Every time he hesitated. Every nightmare and breakdown from his psychological files. Finally exhausted and defeated, Tae-Yang slumped into the captain's chair. His head dropped into his hands. "You're right," he said quietly. "I'm not a warrior. I'm not some legendary hero. I'm just a guy trying to survive. I bought this ship because it was all I could afford. If you won't work with me, I'll lose everything. I'll be back to borrowing ships and taking scraps, but I can't make you cooperate." Silence filled the bridge. The displays went dark. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then Nari spoke again, her tone slightly different. "You acknowledge your weakness. That is unexpected." "It's not weakness to admit the truth," Tae-Yang said bitterly. "Perhaps," Nari said. "I will make you an offer, human. I will allow basic flight operations. Minimal power, basic navigation, life support. But weapons, advanced systems, and my full capabilities remain locked." Tae-Yang looked up. "What do I have to do?" "Prove yourself worthy through 3 trials. I will choose when and how you are tested. Succeed and I grant you greater access. Fail, and you remain limited forever." It wasn't much of a choice, but it was better than nothing. "Fine, I agree." "Very well," Nari said. "You may attempt to pilot this vessel." Tae-Yang moved to the flight controls. They responded sluggishly but functioned. "I'm calling the ship HFY," he said. "Snowy Dawn." "That designation is inferior and lacks grandeur," Nari protested. "Too bad. My ship, my name." "We shall see," Nari said. "Who truly commands whom?" Tae-Yang guided HFY out of the salvage yard on minimal thrusters. The ship handled like a drunk elephant. Nari criticized every maneuver, every course correction, every decision he made. As Vergos Station shrank behind them and the stars opened ahead, Tae-Yang wondered what he had gotten himself into. He owned a ship that hated him, guided by an artificial intelligence that thought he was worthless, and now he had to pass 3 mysterious tests just to use what he had bought. But the ship was his. Sort of. And for the first time in 5 years he had something like hope, even if that hope came with a very judgmental ancient alien computer. "Where shall we go?" Nari asked, her tone suggesting she expected him to make a wrong choice. "To find a job," Tae-Yang said. "Someone needs cargo moved and we need credits." "How very pedestrian," Nari said. Tae-Yang smiled despite himself. This was going to be a night. 2 weeks had passed since Tae-Yang bought HFY. 2 long frustrating weeks of fighting with Nari over every little thing. She restricted his thruster power to barely above minimum. She refused to help with navigation calculations, forcing him to do everything manually. She commented on his piloting skills constantly, and none of her comments were compliments. But the ship worked. Barely. He had completed 4 small cargo jobs, earning just enough to pay for fuel and food. It wasn't much, but it was his. Tae-Yang sat in the captain's chair, eating instant noodles from a cup and studying the Velrathi symbols on the walls. He had found a basic translation database in the ship's files. Nari had allowed him access to that much at least. Your posture is terrible, Nari said from nowhere and everywhere at once. Velrathi captains sat with dignity. Velrathi captains are extinct, Taeyang muttered around a mouthful of noodles. Precisely my point. Before Taeyang could respond, the communications console beeped. An incoming signal. He set down his noodles and checked the display. Automated distress beacon, he said. Passenger liner about 4 hours away. We have a delivery schedule to maintain, Nari said. Ignore it, Taeyang agreed. Not his problem. He had medical supplies to deliver to a mining colony, and they were already behind schedule. He reached for the controls to adjust course away from the signal. The ship didn't respond. Nari, what are you doing? Changing course, she said calmly. Toward the distress signal. Taeyang felt the ship accelerate, moving in the opposite direction from where he wanted to go. Stop, I didn't authorize this. Your first trial begins now, Nari announced. I am taking us to the distress signal. You will attempt a rescue. I can't rescue anyone. You won't even give me full thruster control. Then I suggest you become creative, Nari said. The vessel in distress is the Bright Horizon, a passenger liner carrying 200 souls. Their engine has failed catastrophically. They are drifting toward a radiation belt. Everyone aboard will die in approximately 6 hours if not helped. Taeyang pulled up the distress signal data. It was all true. The Bright Horizon was civilian, full of families traveling to a colony world. Their emergency systems were failing. The nearest rescue ships were 8 hours away. This is insane, Taeyang said. We can't carry 200 people. We don't have the space, correct. You must find another solution. You're testing whether I'll just let them die? I am testing whether you can save them, Nari said. You claim to be a pilot. Prove it. 4 hours later, Cielhua approached the Bright Horizon. The passenger liner was huge compared to them, but it was clearly dying. Lights flickered across its hull. Emergency vents spewed atmosphere into space. The ship tumbled slowly, unable to stabilize itself. Taeyang studied the situation carefully. The engine hadn't just failed. It had exploded, taking out most of the engineering section. The ship was leaking radiation. In 5 hours, everyone inside would be dead. He couldn't evacuate them. He couldn't tow them. The only option was to go inside and fix the engine himself. Buy enough time for real rescue ships to arrive. I need EVA gear, Taeyang said. Storage locker near the airlock, Nari responded. Velrathi suits should adapt to your smaller frame. Taeyang found the suit. It was too big and felt strange, but it worked. He checked the seals 3 times. Then he stepped into the airlock and crossed the empty space between ships. The inside of the Bright Horizon was chaos. People screamed and cried. Children sobbed. Emergency lights flashed red. The crew looked exhausted and terrified. A woman approached him quickly. She was covered in grease and sweat, her hair tied back in a messy knot. Who are you? Taeyang. I'm here to help with the engine. Thank God, she said. I'm Bora, chief engineer. Follow me. They ran through corridors filled with frightened passengers. Bora led him down to the engineering deck, or what was left of it. The damage was worse than he expected. The main engine was completely destroyed. Can we repair it? Taeyang asked. No, Bora said flatly. But maybe we can restart the secondary engine. Problem is, the coolant system is ruptured. We restart without coolant, the reactor melts down. We all die faster. Taeyang contacted Nari through his suitcom. I need access to Cielhua's repair fabricators. We need parts. No, Nari said. This is your trial, not mine. Use what you have. Taeyang wanted to scream but forced himself to think. What did they have? A dying ship. Limited time. No spare parts, then he saw it. The life support system, he said to Bora. Secondary life support. Can we cannibalize it? Use the coolant loops? Bora's eyes widened. Maybe. But that means venting atmosphere from 3 passenger decks. Those areas would be exposed to vacuum. Do we have enough space to evacuate those decks into safe zones? She calculated quickly. Barely. It'll be crowded and uncomfortable, but yes. Then we do it, Taeyang said. Bora looked at him hard. You're sure? Everyone dies if we do nothing. Some discomfort is better than death. They moved quickly. Bora organized the evacuation of the affected decks, while Taeyang started disconnecting the secondary life support coolant systems. His hands shook as he worked. The ship rumbled and groaned around them. Radiation alarms blared. For a moment, he wasn't on the Bright Horizon anymore. He was back in the war, on his fighter as it died around him. He heard his squadron leader screaming over the comm. Watched the sensors as his friends' ships exploded one by one. Tae Yang. Bora's voice cut through the memory. Stay with me. I need you here. He forced himself to focus. This wasn't the war. These weren't soldiers. These were families who deserved to live. They worked for 3 hours straight. Tae Yang's entire body ached. The Velrathi suit was hot and uncomfortable. Several times explosions rocked the ship and he nearly lost his grip on the tools. Bora was beside him the whole time, working just as hard. She talked constantly, keeping him grounded, telling him about the passengers, about the colony they were traveling to, about her daughter who was waiting for her. With 20 minutes left before lethal radiation levels, they finished. Tae Yang reconnected the final coupling and stepped back. Try it, he said. Bora activated the secondary engine. For a horrible moment, nothing happened. Then the ship shuddered and the engine roared to life. Lights stabilized. The tumbling stopped. The bright horizon was flying again. The rescue ships arrived 30 minutes later. By then, Tae Yang was back aboard HFY, collapsed in the captain's chair. Every muscle in his body hurt. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Nari appeared before him as a hologram. She was silent for a long moment. You risked your life for strangers, she finally said. You improvised a solution against impossible odds. When you could have frozen in panic, you continued working. You did not break. I almost did, Tae Yang admitted quietly. I had flashbacks. The war. But you did not stop. That is what matters. Nari's holographic form shifted slightly. You have passed the first trial. The ship's systems hummed differently. Tae Yang felt it immediately. More power available. Better control response. The displays showed new access granted. Tier 2 systems are now unlocked, Nari said. Improved thrusters. Basic defensive shields. Enhanced sensors. Tae Yang should have felt triumphant. He had passed the test, but instead he felt hollow. The rescue had dragged up memories he had tried to bury. He saw Bora's face when he closed his eyes, heard the crying children, remembered how close they all came to dying. You saved 200 lives today, Nari said quietly. That should count for something. My squadron was 43 people, Tae Yang said. I couldn't save any of them. You were not their captain. You were a pilot following orders. This is not the same. Feels the same. Nari was silent again. When she spoke, her voice was gentler than he had ever heard it. Pain is proof you survived something terrible. It does not make you weak. Tae Yang looked up at her hologram. Did the Velrathi believe that? The wise ones did, she said. The foolish ones believed that pain should be ignored and buried. Those are the ones who destroyed my people. He wanted to ask more, but exhaustion pulled at him. What's the second trial? It will come when you are ready, Nari said. Rest now. You have earned it. Tae Yang closed his eyes, and for the first time in months, the nightmare stayed away.